All right, now that I've got my image transferred using the carbon paper over to my board, including the grid, we want the grid copied also because we're going to be looking at everything basically one square at a time. Okay, so you can see my face is there. I've got the grid. The grid matches up with the grid over my printout layout. Now what I'm going to do is an underpainting. I'm going to intentionally oversaturate my colors, and then I'm going to mute them later with a technique that I'll show you down the line. But I'm going to look for highlight, midtone, core shadow, and reflected light. On my black and white photo, it's not going to show which colors are warm and which colors are cool. You'll need to reference a color image for that. But this will show you the values, which is still very helpful. The values are going to be really important to this. However, I also want a color picture that I can look off of, the same image. And we have intentionally set this up so that we have warm lighting coming in from one side and cool lighting coming in from another. And I did this with a lamp on one side and window light coming in from the other side. We need to have a contrast between the warm and cool colors for this project to really, really work well. So what I'm going to do now is actually oversimplify and exaggerate the colors that I have there. Like here's a portion on my cheek, right? It is very, very warm. The colors are very, very warm. And the value is very light. So I'm going to mix that up. I've already got my palette where I have kind of taken an idea of what colors range is in here, but exaggerated it. If I was to take all of these colors to the extreme, they probably bump up to yellows and pinks and violets and teals. We're going to mute them later, but I want to over-exaggerate on my under painting for this assignment. So I'm just going to fill in kind of square by square now an estimate of the value and the temperature of the colors that are there. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that for a little bit. Okay, as I go through here, I don't necessarily want my colors to be really, really strong. I still want to be able to see the drawing underneath, but I actually am going to average out basically just per square. Okay, if it goes over the edge of the square, that's not a problem right now, but I just kind of want to think in squares for this. I can add a little bit of white into that if I want to, but I don't want my colors to be totally opaque right now, meaning I don't want them to cover up the pencil marks that are there. I want to be able to see those still. But I'm going to go fairly quickly and just kind of average these out here. Of course, I can go back over them later. We're going to be changing the colors quite a bit as we go along, but this will provide just a base coat for us. Let me do that pink actually. Notice that I'm referencing my photo substantially as I work on this. That's actually moving into some oranges there. It doesn't have to be perfect, just kind of has to be close. I want to keep track of not just the color that it's close to, but also the value. I do want to darken in ones that are a little more dark. Should have mixed that better. I'm going to go all the way to the edges of my square. I don't really want to leave blank spaces in between. That won't look good. But go ahead and average it out over the whole square. Like even if there's a corner, just go ahead and fill that in anyways. You want to see the pencil marks through it, remember that? be a pretty thin coat. It's an underpainting here. I'm using a purple here to get my value down. Brown is actually a shade of orange. Orange and purple are across from each other on the color wheel, so that'll neutralize the color some, but it'll also bring the value down, which is what I'm looking for in some of these areas here. Already marked where, and I can still see my pencil marks through here, which is important. But I'm kind of marking in where my shadows are at this point. I actually sketched out where the edges of my shadows were before, which is helpful to me now. And I'm exaggerating. Here's the cool side.